I am so glad that you're here so we can learn and grow together. No matter where you are in your journey of life and what your goals, ambitions, and dreams may be, deep down in our core, we all share a beautiful common aspiration, and that is to be happy and live a wonderful life. Just like you, I've had my share of experiences with life, and I am ecstatic to share this amazing journey with you as it continues to unfold. Through years of studies and self-discovery, and with the guidance of incredible mentors, coaches, and teachers along the way, I have been fortunate to find my light and see the path to joy, peace, and happiness. And I want to help you find yours. My ultimate desire is to uplift your spirit, bring consciousness to your thoughts, and remind you that you are an outstanding, uniquely powerful, and eternal spiritual being that is here for this amazing physical experience that we call life. Guiding you through this to unleash your power within and elevating the collective consciousness and happiness of those who I come in contact with has become my true obsession in life. So let's begin this journey together and know that it is my absolute pleasure to get to know you, cheer you on, and be your personal Lucifer and Lightbringer to illuminate the path and be your champion to find your own light along the way. I want you to think of limitless possibilities and manifest the journey ahead and achieve anything and everything you have ever desired. If you are blessed to have found your light already, allow us to pour into each other and share your wisdom so collectively we shine brighter together and be a beacon of hope for others in need. With that said, let's begin and welcome aboard. All right.
Let me get a good vape in before we do it.
Hello, everyone. This is Lucifer, and I'm here with my good friend and neighbor, Wade Robinson. You've been a great friend to me for a long time, and just love hanging out, love your vibe, and I know we all go through different stuff. So recently we were talking about different stuff, and we decided it would be good to get together and do some healing sessions together, I guess.
You know, I've been through a bit of a tornado, twister, whirlwind, if you will. Mm-hmm. And it's been supportive for me just having you as my neighbour because it's a close resource, and you've given me a few tidbits that I've grabbed onto, and I'm here to learn more about what you know and how it can complement me going through everything I'm working through.
Yeah, well, I mean, thank you for even mentioning that. But the key thing that I think you and I talked about is it's methods that you can actually do yourself to self-heal, right? There's nothing that I will do. It's just a talking and conversation. One of my favorite yoga instructors, I just always remember this, and she during the practices, her name is Dharma. She says, it's healing to be dealing with what you're feeling, right? And this is it. Like when we hang out, in the driveway and just hanging out and chit chat, I feel elevated. And I can tell from just your body language, visual and all that, you're feeling elevated. So it's like, you know what? This is right aligned with what I'm doing with Brainwashed Creations. And I'm like, hey, man, let's have a little conversation because if it feels good, and also, it's uplifting other friends, other people that may be going through some of the same stuff, right? And it could help. So,
I mean, it's one of those things, dude, like that whole Brainwash Creations is firstly, it's a fantastic name because I think
thank you.
What causes anxiety and stress is that we all set this pedestal on what we are meant to be doing and how we're meant to be feeling. And that's normally pushed through these societal norms that we've all grown up with that are absolutely, bullshit, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, to me, so I'm not going to apply it.
Right. Yeah, that's something that, everybody has to go through it. The challenge, I guess, is that we all go through it, right? Now, at the end of it, how do you come out of it? And what do you learn from it? And how do you decide to come out of it? Because that's the skill that a lot of people are not aware that it's easily done, right? I mean, the cool thing about when you get to feel good all the time, when you get to feel peace and serenity and be happy, genuinely feel that love towards your fellow men, right? because you'd be like, why would I love that person? I don't even know them. But when you actually tap into that source of energy and you see everything as a part of this whole thing, there's different variation of love, right? But there is that love that you see that person in the street that you could just see a cute dog. It's the same thing. It's like you're appreciating that being, right? And that sense of gratitude is just uplifting on itself. But it takes a lot of different things, and it takes a lot of being aware, right, to do that. And unfortunately, as you know, for the most of the time, we're not really present, right? Genuinely, we're thinking in what? In the past.
In the past, or so far in the future,
right?
That we disenfranchise ourselves because it's so far out that
Right.
you don't see the next goal.
Mm-hmm.
That's the micro step to that. It's either you're in the past where everything is terrible,
Mm-hmm.
and you're so far in the future, and it looks like such a huge mountain to climb that you forget about what am I doing today, and where do I need to be tomorrow.
Right. Yes. So the beauty of what you just said is that realization, that in itself is a meditative state of just being able to just catch yourself, to be more present, right? So what I mean by that is, like, let's say you wake up in the morning, first thing that you wake up out in the morning, like, you're already thinking ahead, right? You're picturing yourself in front of the sink, brushing your teeth. You're picturing yourself taking a shower, right? Then
Making that first cup of coffee.
Right. Before it even happens, you're 3-4 steps ahead already, right? And if we are at that moment, just as starting, like, one of my favorite things that I like to do is just when I put my feet down, just feeling reconnecting to the ground that I'm going to be walking on for the rest of the day, and just cool, thank you for another beautiful day that is about to start. But just feeling that ground, the coldness of it, just taking it in, right? And then it starts. You start thinking about, oh, I got to call this person. Shoot, it's still like I haven't even brushed my teeth yet. You're already thinking about it, right? But that awareness that you're kind of wrangling it in, it's like, nope, come back here. That practice alone in itself, because all of that, to your point, is going to cause that anxiety. You're either thinking about the stuff that happened yesterday, right? And it is scientifically proven that about 80% of these thoughts are from previous and past. 95% of it is just automatic stuff that is coming back from everything that we've done in the past, and it's just resurfacing, right? It just keeps rewiring and everything in your head. So one of the favorite studies that I like to actually share with friends when it's the first time we're talking about this is, on average, we have about 70,000 thoughts per day, right? And take a wild guess, what percentage of it is negative thoughts based on the vibrations and all that?
Let's assume that 70% is negative, and we obviously go through some type of dismissal triaging process that the brain does.
Yeah.
And in that, we also get rid of some really good ideas that were just attached to a negative emotion or connotation, which is like why we get these ideas about, like, doing well or feeling good about yourself, where you feel like you should be sacrificing or wearing a burden for something else. You can feel actually kind of restrained about that because you're like, I've dismissed it off the fact that it was purely about me.
Right.
And I should have probably kept that thought because it was something that's going to make me feel really good. And it was probably something that I needed to pursue personally.
You're very close. 80% of it is negative. And out of this 80%, 95% of them are repetitive thoughts. So think about it. We're just constantly in that state of misery, right? And you're just reliving everything that has had either made you sad or upset or pissed off or whatever that negative emotion that is going to stir up all those negative feelings, right? So you're constantly reliving that. Now, we think in images, right? If you think about it, when you're thinking about something a lot, what is it doing? It's just reinforcing, right? These neurons are just firing and wiring together, and just like you having this picture now that is much harder to get rid of. First thing in the morning when you're waking up, that's right there. Last thing you go into bed at night, it's right there, right? And it just keeps building And the way to break that pattern is it's just literally being aware of it, that I'm doing it, I'm thinking about it, because it doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. It's literally as like, you're a movie buff, right? You just came back with the kids from the movie, right? Let's say if the movie that you saw Spider-Man, right? Mm-hmm. I'm sure it was amazing, but hypothetically speaking, let's say it was a crappy movie, right? And you hated it. Now, if you went back again tomorrow to watch it again, and the day after, and the day after, and the day after, I'm going to be asking you, wait, what the hell are you doing? Right?
There's no logic to it.
But that's what we're doing with the past, because it's a crappy, really shitty movie that we've seen, right? And it's put us in this just negative state of mind that is just yucky and you want to get out of. However, it's impossible at that point because you keep repeating it. Yeah. You can't get out of that state if your thoughts are where it needs to be somewhere else, and it's actually on that event that is triggering that state for you.
Yep.
Right? And that's the challenge, and that's one of the first things that is taught when you want to break this pattern is awareness, right? The second that you're going down that rabbit hole, catching it. And it's like, nope, not doing it. And it's as simple as that. I'm going to find my happy place. It could be the kids. It could be, I don't know, juggling 3 balls because that's going to take focus. It could be anything.
Or it's looking at it and going, what are the elements I can control that create that situation?
Yes.
And as that feeling comes up, you can just shut it down because you already have your action plan. You're like, right. I've already learned my lesson. These are the things I need to deal with. I'm not going to entertain that thought until I've dealt with this.
Yeah.
And once I entertain the thought again, once I've dealt with these things I learned from it, it's going to be a whole new experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. You shifted your thoughts the second you decided I am going to do this. Like, if most of my friends and family, everybody knows the word that I wish I had never learned when I came to the United States is the word can't. Like I have actually done a really good job of undoing myself from repeating it or ever saying it. But from time to time, there's like, oh, I almost said it. But that word, when you say you can't do this and all that, right? That's just so debilitating that a lot of us go through that, oh, I just can't stop thinking about it. No, you're choosing to think about it if you think about it, because you keep allowing it to resurface. Because I can guarantee you, if you were doing something else that acquired your attention without daydreaming, I don't know what it could be. It could be playing tennis. It's a little tough to be really given it yourself, but anything that you're doing that you actually have to be present at the moment to perform it, that is a good meditative state to just bring your thought and be present, right?
I think it's a good point, because you can allow those thoughts to creep in if you're too far in the past or in the future. Mm-hmm. When you are present, when that thought creeps up, it's painful, and it should be painful, almost like an electric shock. And how many times do you repeat a pattern if you had an electric shock every time it came up? Very rarely, because the learned behavior is, I'm not going to entertain that anymore.
Right.
You'll entertain it if you're dreaming or you're daydreaming about the future or you're lost in the past. Mm-hmm. But in the present, you'll feel it, and it should feel like an electric shock. And you go, I don't want to feel that. Every day.
Yes. No, that's very true. So here's one thing that I found interesting that I'd like to share with you is, like, 100% of the time, it's still a little bit of a challenge for me to 100% of the time be in the present, that I've noticed myself going in the future. I don't go to the past very, very rarely. I have to really, but if it does, I'm catching it immediately and I'm coming back. The future part of it, and I know a lot of the teaching and everything is being present, and I practice that throughout the day through meditation and through other stuff that I'm doing. However, when I'm choosing to go to future, what I'm envisioning is the future state that I'm envisioning. In terms of what that, like, for example, let's talk about this podcast. Where do I want it? What does it feel like? What does it feel like when it's where I want it to be, and how I'm impacting friends, family at a massive scale, right? I mean, we're talking about having a global reach, right? Mm-hmm. Or I picture all the other stuff that I'm intending to do with it in terms of, doing retreats and being able to connect with people and actually see them and shake their hands and do meditation and just all of that. And how would that feel like in terms of that collective energy and all that, right? So when I'm going to the future, I'm not going to, oh my God, I really want to buy this car, or I got to do this and all that, because I'm really focusing something that is meaningful to me, right? Focusing that vision of when I start the first seminar, for example, what type of workshops I want to provide to the people, what type of, again, how many days is it going to be, right? So as I'm picturing all this, it's a really good, exciting feeling. It doesn't give anxiety. I've noticed that. So, and I know from time to time it's hard for us to stay present, right? Past it's just constant default. We're going to, right? But when we're thinking about future, you just mentioned the perfect thing. It gives you anxiety. Past gives you regret and sadness and anger. Future gives you anxiety, right? Yeah. But if you can switch it,
because you're trying to grab the past and put it into the future and try and work it out,
and it's going to be the same
anxiety.
thing.
It's because it's a freaking mess, right? Where it's like, just leave it there, take your lessons, look forward, and to your point, right? Like yours is very direct and passionate because you have a mission and a goal. A lot of people, I think, they're just trying to pull parts of the past and go, how do I emulate that going forward? And that's probably the wrong question, where it's like, well, you shouldn't be emulating any of it,
right?
Because you should be taking lessons out of it and then redesigning your future,
right?
Because if you're trying to emulate anything from the past that's causing you pain, you've already taken the first wrong step in the wrong direction.
So to your point with this whole practice that we're talking about is like, if you're thinking about the future, and it's not just, so here's a good point that you're bringing in. Yes, I have a passion. I've been passionate about this. I've been working for years to kind of start with this and getting it here. It just has to take that step that, man, I really want to be able to do this and be able to, again, have that kind of a reach, right? Now, everybody can have a vision, a future that is a good place. That's something you're striding for, right? Like, let's say just something simple that I want a 5-bedroom house, nice car, all that stuff. Okay, great. What does that feel like? Are you looking in Zillow or whatever app that you may have? Are you looking at houses and what that will look? Are you going to open houses? Are you going to see model homes? Because when you're thinking about it and it's unattainable to you, now you got to start putting it into reality, experiencing it, right? Those feelings are going to pave that path to manifestation of it, right? Because so are you familiar with epigenetics?
No, not at all.
Okay, no. So good. One of my favorite, there's a couple of people, obviously Dr. Bruce Lipton is the father of it, goes back into 1960s, and then Dr. Joe Dispenza, just I'm one of his biggest fans, followed his work very closely, and again, I consider him one of my mentors actually throughout all this process, with very deep in explaining it, and the way that our environment affect our genes, right? And the way the genes start reacting to it, the proteins in the genes, based on the chemicals that are being secreted by our thoughts, by our emotions, all that stuff. Aside from having health effects, right, that could technically create disease, it could also heal. It's the other way around, that people can cure terminal diseases, can literally start manifesting what is essentially their future desire, because now the vibrations of your heart, the vibrations of your brain, just your whole existence is becoming more aligned with the vibrations of the creation, essentially, the matrix, the universe, the energy that is surrounding us, right? You're one with it. And in that oneness, everything is available, if you think about it, right? Just, you remember the movie Matrix, right? You had to think about it, it would come.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
And this is essentially that. It's just explaining.
But you had to let the matrix go.
You had to let it go. What do you mean by that?
Well, for Neo to become who Neo was, he had to let go of all his previous beliefs about how the limitations of the world he grew up with didn't exist. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. And the beauty of it is, you're playing in it after you choose to do that. You're creating your world in it, right? When you come back, like when you saw, it's like he's still in that
Red pill, blue pill,
right.
brother.
He's still in that reality that is suffering if he's just there. But when you can actually go and be in the matrix and enjoy the steak and all that stuff, because again, your body doesn't know the difference if you think about it with that whole setting. So it's the same thing here. When you are sending those negative signals, stress signals, right? That there's a fight and flight system in us, right? So now when we're in that anxiety state, everything that is aiming to get us ready to either fight, flight, or hide, right, is already activated. But there's not an outlet. You're not running from anything. You're not hiding from anything. You're just sitting in traffic, angry because the traffic is not moving, right?
Yeah.
That is just creating this anxiety within us that is triggering the specific genes that ultimately could be the result of your heart attack, could be a result of your cancer, could be a result of anything, right? Now, the key is just being able to be aware of that and redirecting thoughts. If you're gonna be there, you're gonna have to be there. Would you rather be there and be calm and be comfortable with it and figure out your happy zone? It could be distracting. You could be calling your son and talking to him that you haven't talked to in a while. You could be calling your mother. Anything that would take your mind of what's going on there and changing the frequency of your thoughts to redirect it towards something that is pleasant.
Yeah.
And at that moment, it's easy to say nothing is pleasant. I don't want to deal with it seriously, because that's our negative self-talk, right?
Yeah.
But if you sit there, one of the best things that I like to share with,
I'm gonna vape.
Because, go for it.
Because I know we're gonna do this again tomorrow, and I'm learning lots of stuff out.
We have all this information, all of us do, right?
You know it, bro.
No,
you fucking know it and you live it. Like, I know you live it. Like,
what makes you say that?
It's just your energy, man. Like, it's your energy. It's just how you are, right? Like, I can't imagine you in your previous life, and it must have been something that you obviously woke up one day and thought, I'm not being my best self, right? Mm-hmm. And I met you later in the piece where I'm like, dude, this guy's buzzing, man. He's fucking buzzing around. He's got like a halo running around him, and his name's fucking Lucifer, right? And it's like so fucking
the
funny.
Lightbringer.
And I was like, dude, look at this guy. It's just like, he's out there, he's freaking grilling, he's shaking hands, he's smiling, he's fucking, like, he's living his life, he's living his buzz. His kids come and stay with him. His kids have a fucking great time. Like, it really challenged my perception on what I thought was meant to be, will be. But that was like coming from like a really old school Scottish upbringing where I never knew I had a big brother until he reached out when he was like freaking 24. Because mum had him out of wedlock, and at the time she got sent to freaking nursing school, which is like a birthing centre. And the only thing at the time they could do with women that were pregnant out of wedlock was train to be a fucking nurse. And then the children were just put out to adoption, and that was fucking it. Right, so I had this really old school Scottish mentality, because there's a saying where you take Scotland out of Scotland, put them in New Zealand. 200 years later, the Scotland you experience in New Zealand is the 200-year-old Scotland, and Scotland's already moved ahead. Scotland's already progressed. They've already reformed stuff. They've moved ahead, and you're like in the bottom of the southern hemisphere going, Jesus Christ, we're still doing practices that they were doing 200 years ago.
No, I get it, man. But going back to what you were saying, that's a very nice compliment. I've always had a happy, positive streak in me. However, just like everybody else, life has the potential of letting you down, or not letting you down, getting you down if you let it. Yeah. And I had let it. I have had a lot of influence since I was a teenager. I mean, I remember I was telling my cousins the other day, we were talking about Anthony Robbins and all that stuff, and I knew of him when I was like 13 or 14 because my dad was into that. Like, I had his books, and I was a literature major back in Iran, so I wanted to like learn everything in different cultures. So I was like, oh, there's translated books. So I mean, I was reading all that stuff. That stuff goes into your brain, right? I mean, it becomes a part of you. But then life happens, and you're not 12 or 13 anymore. You're not really present at the moment and just playing, and you forget about it as you're moving on, and life starts building on, and everything else that we're focused on, which is got nothing to do with your internal well-being and your internal peace, and just tapping into that. It's everything is external. Right?
It's to the point where it's complete dismissal of oneself to make sure you're spinning all the plates in the air.
Right. Yeah. And you know, it's just like it takes you through just hurdles, man. And until you
when the plates fall on the floor, you sit there and wonder who the fuck I am. You're like, if I'm not spinning these plates, who am I?
Right.
Because that's all you've been doing is spinning plates for like a decade, right? Mm-hmm. And that's where the collapse begins, because it's like, who the fuck am I? I defined myself as the guy that could spin all these plates.
Yeah.
Now the plates are on the ground.
Right.
And you have this huge exposure and vulnerability where you're like, I haven't actually reinforced myself to the point that all these plates could just disappear and I'm still standing there going, here I am.
Yeah. Everybody goes through it, as I mentioned. It's just your version of it, right? And it's shaped by really your personality, right? And that personality in terms of how you interpret events and a stimulus that is coming towards you, it really creates that reality, that personal reality for you, right? So personality, personal reality are really tied together. How your outlook on life is, right? If you really ask him when something really crappy goes on, and trust me when I do this a lot, man, because other than that, you would stay in that rabbit hole. That's one of the easiest probably thing to do, but people don't want to do it because we get used to your body, not your mind. Your body gets used to staying in that state and feeding off of that just shitty feelings, you know. I mean, it's a chemical, right? Now, it's your normal state. You say, I don't want to feel like that, and you get a little dose of happiness every now and then, but then guess what? I miss all those thoughts. I'm going to keep focusing on everything that has gone wrong in my life, right?
Because they're familiar.
Bingo. So the easiest way when something happens, like let's say something really crappy happens, we go through the emotions of it, right? You deal with it. It is hard to say, what is great about this? What we talk about being in the car and in the traffic. What is great about this? Can I meditate while I'm driving with my eyes open? Put on a couple of different tunes that would get me going. Could I call a family?
Can I learn something?
Can I learn something? Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's audiobooks, there's everything that you could actually just do. Can I phone a friend? When was the last time you talked to your best friend, for example? Yeah, texting and Facebooking, and we're all hiding behind all this and staying away from that emotional connection that is truly uplifting. Now, next time you're stuck in traffic, and this is my request to just everybody, and you feel that a negative emotion is coming up, ask yourself, what is great about this? And the second you genuinely, intentionally ask that, your brain is going to go to work. That's like, what can I do with this situation? But when you say, oh my God, this sucks and there's nothing you can do, you're already shutting down possibilities, right? Yeah. But if you say, what is great about this? I promise you, you're going to come up with something that is going to get you through it, and you'll be fine, and you maintain your peace and happiness. What do you think?
Look, I hear you, man. Like, you know, my background, I do project management.
Right.
And it's identifying the opportunities. Mm-hmm. And it's, as you just said, it's like, what is great about this? And if we go to the context of the car, the fantastic thing is that I'm going to be sitting here for 35 minutes.
Right.
Doing not much at all. So that's an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And to your point, it's like, call someone, man.
Yeah.
Just give them a call. Like that buddy you haven't spoken to for 6 months, just give them a call.
Yeah.
And say, hey, what's up? How you been? What's going on?
It's the reaching out. For example, just like last night when you reached out to me, even via text, right? You asked a very, very interesting question that I don't think anybody's ever asked me on text before, and I loved it. Do you recall what it was?
I'm thinking. I won't assume. I'll hear it from you.
Yeah, it was something in the line of, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't have my phone in front of me. It was something in the line of, how do you do your life? Is that something?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we just dove into just, I responded something, and it just, that connection was just made that we need to get together more. I think based on that. And you know what? As a teaser, on the next episode, how about I read the text you sent me and the response I gave?
Absolutely.
Would that sound
Absolutely,
good?
man. Yeah.
All right. Well, you know what? I know you have a lot to do, and I know time is precious. That's one of the best things that we take it for granted. So I want to thank you for your time. Love having you around. Love your energy. Love having you as my friend. And if there's ever anything you need to talk to me about, I'm here for you. And I'm looking forward to do more of these so we can feel good. How you feeling?
I appreciate you, brother. I do.
Yeah?
I really like this.
Good.
It's. I love the concept. I love the energy, and I don't know if we can do this to the camera, but like to the audience, I know this guy. I can speak for him, and he's got good intentions here. So there's a lot of people in our community that would vouch for Lucifer. He's a good bloke.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. I'd love the opportunity to do this again, and have a wonderful evening. Thanks, buddy.
Cheers, boss. Appreciate
All right.
it.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode and join us next time. If you'd like to sit in as a guest to talk about your journey and share your success story on this program to inspire others, or perhaps need a little pick-me-up in the form of support and advice on how to overcome the life challenges you are facing now, drop us a line at brainwashedcreations.com. Let's connect and step into my world. Please share this with the special people in your life, and remember to smile big, love and laugh often, and surround yourself with those who uplift you constantly. Live your best lives, my friends, and keep on cleansing your mind and be conscious of your thoughts and your self-talk. Until next time, I wish you peace, love, and harmony.